Hello, this is Dave with TimmTraining.com. Thanks for watching this video. Today we're going to be talking about winter fire making basics, including dealing with snow-covered ground, which we have no shortage of in Minnesota this year. It's a little chilly out, but it's actually a warm day. It's about the 20s, give or take, with the wind chill, which is a far cry from our below zero average temperature we've had all last month. So it's like a heat wave. So we're going to enjoy it. We're going to make this video. Before we get into it, I got to say a huge thank you to all of you guys. All of the views, the subscriptions, it's just absolutely amazing and makes this project really fun. And every time I get an email telling me that someone has subscribed to my videos, it just really means a lot to me, especially because we've only had the one video. So thank you so much for subscribing. I appreciate your patience with coming out with new material. We've been busy with some other YouTube channels, but we're going to be making more content and we're going to have some fun today. Now, one more thing I got to give a shout out is my cameraman Trevor. Thanks so much for hanging out with me in the woods today, and we hope you guys enjoy this video. The winter can create some challenges when you're starting a fire. So we're going to talk about those throughout the video, as well as what we need to do to prepare ourselves to have a successful fire. So maybe the scenario is you're out hiking, you're hunting, you're out on a snowmobile or an ATV and that breaks down. Maybe you just simply get lost and you realize that you're going to have to spend some considerable time out in the woods. What can make your stay out here a lot more enjoyable, warm, and help your success rate of getting out is starting a fire. So it's important to be prepared. Whenever you're going to be spending time outside, make sure you go out prepared. And that starts with your base gear, and that is your clothing. You want to start with good quality footwear, a good sock, wear layers. So if you have some long underwear, insulated underwear, good pants that have some water resistance, as well as some layers up top to keep your core warm, as well as gloves and a hat, you'll be good to go. And again, I can't stress enough on quality garments. If you're buying cheap stuff, you'll probably end up having to buy it twice. Buy once, cry once. Get good gear to keep you warm. In addition to that, whenever I go outside, whether it's for a hike, hunting trip, snowmobiling, whatever, I always carry a couple things. Number one is my core kit. And I plan on doing another video on this core kit, what's in it. But basically, in this small pack, I have enough to start a fire, signal, gather water, make a basic shelter, and even have some snacks. In addition to the core kit, I also carry a good fixed blade knife. These are two go-to things for me all the time. In addition to my everyday carry stuff, which is a folding knife, all sorts of other stuff, these are the things that always go outside with me. Now when I'm hunting, I may convert these to a waist pack. I may throw them in the bottom of an ATV or the trunk of a snowmobile, something like that. But these are things that I definitely never leave the house without if I go outside. These make everything that much better. Unfortunately, real life doesn't always give you the option to choose where your location is, but if you can, you want to try to keep some factors in mind. If you know that you're going to set up somewhere as kind of a camp, you're going to create your fire, you're going to hunker down for a while, think about safety. Number one, you want to make sure it's safe for you. Nothing is overhead going to fall on you. It's not prohibiting view from the outside if someone is looking for you. So consider maybe trying to find somewhere near your trail that you were on, roads, bypasses, whatever it might be, so at least that you have some visibility once you start that fire, especially when it gets to nighttime. The other thing is we're going to clear the ground down to the ground if possible. If we just set the fire on the snow, you're going to definitely have issues. The fire is going to get hot enough, it's going to melt, and you're not going to have very much success. And we'll see if we can do an accelerated version of that, or we just start a small fire on the snow and watch it melt. But you have to get down to the ground as much as you can. And if you can't do that, if there's that much snow, then you're going to have to make a base of some fuel wood at the bottom and keep adding to that so you have that foundation. So now we're going to talk about how to collect materials. We don't have the typical luxuries that we have when it's nice out, where we're able to walk around on the ground and have all this great stuff on the forest floor. It's all under snow, which means it's basically all under suspended water that's frozen. We have to look above ground for everything, from our tinder to our kindling, as well as our fuel wood. The easiest way to do that is look for the patterns. And what I mean by that is, if you'll notice, all these trees generally grow up and down. Now, if you remember from old jails where they actually had bars, all the inmates used to wear horizontal stripes. And that's so the jailer could quick look in and see that there was a contrasting pattern to make sure the inmate was still in jail. We're going to use that same technique today. We're just going to look around the woods and look for horizontal lines, downed trees, fallen limbs, etc. Everything that's above ground is going to be easier to find than you think. So let's get to it. Let's go find our tinder or kindling, and we're going to start a fire. When we're scouting for materials, we need to find three basic things to start our fire. We need to find tinder, which is what we first use to ignite to get a basic flame, and then that flame will ignite our kindling, and our kindling will feed to our fuel wood. One of my favorite sources for tinder is birch bark. The stuff burns when it's wet it's just an amazing resource. So whenever you see this on your hike in, and as we were hiking in, I saw a few resources, but this is one I definitely wanted to stop back at. So it's super easy to collect. You can just easily take the stuff that's almost fallen off already, and you can shave this up. This will ignite really, really well. And because it's winter, it's going to be nice and dry. This is going to take a spark and ignite awesome. So we're going to use this as well as some other materials. Let's go see what else we can find for tinder. Another great source for tinder is these oak leaves. Now, a lot of oak leaves don't fall to the ground. I mean, of course, a good amount of them do, but you can always find them in the winter. These work great. They're nice and dry, easy to find. They're above ground, so they're not soaking up water from either melt, rain, runoff, whatever. This is a great source. Here's a great find as well. This is an obviously dead tree. Now, just because everything looks dead doesn't mean it is. When you break a live tree off, it's still going to be green, and this is not going to burn well. As you can see, it did not break clean, and it's just still very moist inside, just so happens to be frozen. So we want to try to find the obviously dead trees, and then these are going to be great sources for our kindling, as well as even getting into our small fuel wood. So we already got some tinder. As far as kindling goes, how I like to think of it is you can think of it like a drill bit. You start with like a pilot hole, really, really small drill bits. So this little guy, and then we make our holes, if we were drilling, larger. So in this case, we're just going to start to get twigs that are larger in size. So we start with this little guy, we go all the way up to our fuel wood, and we're going to collect a lot. If you had to spend some time out here and you have a limited amount of daylight, you're going to want to spend a lot of that collecting wood. And my general rule of thumb is I collect 3 times as much wood as I think I might need. Now in the winter, sometimes you even have to do more because this stuff is dead and dry, and it's going to burn really, really fast. Well, this tree is obviously dead. If you just take this apart, you can see how dry this is. This is going to burn great, but it's going to burn fast. But this is a easy score. We are almost set to start this fire. So I've created a nice area down to the ground here, and then I've purposely left some snow here. We're actually going to start 2 fires. I'm going to start one over here, just on top of the snow, just to see how long it takes for that actually to melt into the snow and extinguish itself, proving the point that you need to get down deep or have a nice wood base. And then this one, we're going to start our main fire in. All right, we're ready to start our fire. And before we go with our main fire, we're going to start this cheater fire over here. And just to accelerate this process a little bit, again, we're starting this on snow to see how long it takes to melt down. I'm going to use one of my favorite tinder sources, homemade item, just a Vaseline soaked cotton ball. You just tear them apart, expose the fibers. Works really slick. On top of that, I have some birch bark. I'm going to use a ferro rod. We'll get some smaller twigs right on there. Key is not to smother. Now, being this isn't going to be a very large fire, I don't know how long this is going to take to melt. I mean, we're not going to make this very large, but when I have been camping, hiking and stuff in the past when I was a kid, and in the scouts and hunting, I would make a large fire on the snow and it would melt down pretty much after we were done cooking. So we'll see how long this one goes. So I think that's good enough for that. Again, just a real small twig fire. So let's get started with our main fire. And for that, I'm also going to use the ferro rod. I have a lighter and matches in my core kit, but whenever you get to practice with these materials and it's not an emergency, I say get the practice. If this was an emergency and I needed fire right now, I was freezing, you bet I'd be getting that Bic lighter out. So let's get started. We're down to pretty much the ground. So I'm just going to do something similar and lay a little bit of a foundation down so it's not right on the ground. We got some birch bark. We'll get some leaves nearby. And I got all my processed tinder, kindling, and fuel wood all right here. Now I didn't shave up this birch bark very much, so we'll see how we do. There we go. All right, so it took a few times. I just had to get a little bit more leverage with it. So birch bark ignited. That stuff burns really good. I have another piece here to help out. I've got some leaves. Got some small twigs. And we'll just get a little bit of light fuel on the other fire. Yeah, because that has that twig base on the bottom, it's actually doing pretty good. So for a short-term fire, if you were just cooking, just needed to warm up for a little bit, that might be sufficient. But you can start to see the heat is starting to concave, and I don't know if we have that on the tight camera or not. It's starting to collapse a little bit, so that might be starting to work its way down, but we'll keep feeding them, and let's check back in a few minutes. Our fires are doing great. Our base ground fire is doing very well. It's putting off a lot of heat. Our fire in the snow is actually starting to dip down. So we'll keep feeding it a little bit, and we'll see how it goes down, but the coal base is definitely receding into the snow. It's very concave. So it's definitely an issue depending on how much snow and the density of the snow. Like I said before, this is almost like ice crystals. We're just that part of the season. So if this was light, fluffy snow, I'm pretty confident this would sink a lot faster. In comparing our two fires, we have our base ground fire that's doing well and what we're now calling our crater fire. One of the biggest observations that we've made is the amount of radiant heat. And the ground fire is very warm, you can feel it, the radiation's good. The crater fire, on the other hand, is not putting out a lot of heat at all because it's blocked by these insulation, these snow walls. So if you were looking for a short-term solution to cook your lunch, this might be something really slick that you could rig up, a stick over the top, hang your kettle or your mess kit. Might be a really cool solution. Unfortunately, the radiation, the heat benefit is null. And the other thing that we're starting to see is as it gets deeper and deeper, it's having a tough time breathing. So it's almost, not only is it getting wet down there when it's starting to melt some of that snow, but it's almost smothering itself because it can't get more oxygen down into the base. So something to definitely consider. On top of that, the visibility is very poor. If we were to go some distance where it would be less light, you wouldn't be able to see this fire at all. The flames aren't coming over the surface of the snow much at all. So definitely some pros and cons, short term, long term, but if you're looking to stay warm, definitely the base ground fire is the way to go. If you like what you've seen, please subscribe to my channel. I promise more content is going to be coming out. I thank all of the viewers out there who have watched. It's absolutely sincerely appreciated every time I look at the count to see how many people have watched my video, the one that's been on there before this one now, as well as the subscribers, and it's just very humbling, and it's, again, sincerely appreciated. I take it as a big compliment, so I really appreciate it. To wrap up, both fires are doing good. You can see the fire in the snow is definitely starting to crater, and the coals are starting to cool. I had to reanimate the fire a little bit with some oxygen to try to get some of the flames up. Just the coals are starting to get cold. If that was fluffy snow, I don't know if I would bank on that. I would definitely come down to bare ground if it was that fluffier, lighter, early season snow. Now, if you were just cooking your lunch on a hike or something like that, this might be very adequate. And in fact, cleanup might be easier because you could just, cave over the snow and it would extinguish it and be safe. I hope you found this video helpful and you learned from it. Please like, subscribe, share. You can find me on Facebook. Check out the webpage, all that good, happy stuff. And again, from the bottom of our heart, I thank you very much for watching. Thanks again to Trevor for coming out and videoing today. You guys have a great and blessed day.